We begin at 5 with a disturbing day for people who live along a street in Suffolk.
Neighbors are concerned after someone found a woman's body on the ground with a gunshot wound. It happened on Dill Road near Bidwell Street, and that's just south of downtown Suffolk. 13 News Now reporter Allie Weatherton is live there tonight. Allie?
She turned into an anchor reed.
David, I spoke to many neighbors this afternoon. They tell me they did not hear a thing this morning, and they say they don't believe the woman was shot in this area.
It's very shocking and surprising.
A woman found dead at a neighborhood intersection.
You don't think it will happen here, but it does.
Suffolk police say dispatchers received a call a little after 4:30 Monday morning after someone saw the woman's body in the roadway. Although officers haven't released much information about what happened, they say someone shot her.
When I got up at 3 and I was up to 4:30 watching TV, I didn't hear nothing, didn't see nothing.
Many others living off Dill Road say the same.
No one arguing, no one loud talking, nothing.
Neighbors believe the shooting took place somewhere else.
Maybe she was shot in the car and then dumped off over here.
Monday afternoon, officers continued to piece together what happened, knocking on doors and interviewing neighbors.
We have cameras here, and nothing on the camera.
And that video was handed over to police. Now, if you think you heard something or know something, contact police. That number is 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. Live in Suffolk, Allie Weatherton, 13 News Now.
All right, Allie, thank you. In Norfolk, police are investigating what they're calling an undetermined death after a body was found in Ocean View this morning. Authorities were called to Bay Dunes Drive this morning, and police tell us they don't believe foul play was involved in the man's death, but the medical examiner is working to figure out how he died. We'll update you with any new information as we learn it.
Right now, authorities in Virginia and North Carolina are searching for a baby who may have been abducted by her father. An Amber Alert has been issued for Emma Grace Kennedy. Police think she's with Carl Ray Kennedy. Kennedy is a registered sex offender. He has several tattoos, including skulls and a pit bull on his arms and an eye on his hand. Emma is just 7 months old. She was last seen wearing a light blue onesie. Police tell us they may be in a car like this one on your screen right there, a 2007 Ford Suzuki that may have either North Carolina license plates that you see there on your screen. Either one. They were last seen last night in Danville when police say he attacked the girl's mother before taking Emma. If you know anything about where these two could be, call Danville Police.
Tomorrow, leaders in Virginia Beach are set to debate whether the city should pay to reconfigure Atlantic Avenue. That's a proposal on the table to build a roundabout near the Cavalier Hotel. The proposal includes having the city apply for a grant to pay for it, but some city council members are pushing back. 13 News Now anchor Ernie LeBeau is live in Virginia Beach tonight to explain why. Ernie.
Yeah, Janet, a few weeks ago, I actually spoke to the deputy city manager, and he told me that the city was actually waiting to hear back from the state about whether or not this grant they requested was received. Well, now some council members are pushing back, one even going as far to say that she doesn't believe that the Atlantic Avenue project really benefits to improving the life of residents here in Virginia Beach. $2.5 million. That's the estimated price to turn Atlantic Avenue near 40th Street in Virginia Beach into a cul-de-sac, as well as install new traffic lights and patterns. The developer Cavalier Associates requested the city do this to accommodate new development in the area. A deputy city manager, Tom Leahy, told me that's why they applied for a state grant.
The decision on the grant is up to the state, both in the determination and the timing.
But before they received an answer to whether or not the funding was granted, two council members are pushing back. Council members John Moss and Jessica Abbott are presenting another resolution requesting to back out of this deal. Abbott wrote on Facebook, wasting precious taxpayer-funded resources on creating a cul-de-sac for the benefit of a private development is poor policy. And tomorrow, council is expected to discuss this matter. Now, the deputy city manager told me that if it ends up passing, they will move forward with requesting that state funding. Reporting live here in Virginia Beach, I'm Ernie LeBeau, 13 News Now.
New information tonight in a deadly hit-and-run crash in Virginia Beach. Police say the driver of the vehicle that caused the crash, Anthony Spence, has been charged with DUI and involuntary manslaughter. Happened late last night on North Great Neck Road near River Road. Police tell us Spence rear-ended a Lexus SUV that turned onto Great Neck. And that's when they say Spence and a passenger took off running. And they were eventually caught, but police say the driver of the SUV died on the scene. The victim has been identified as 73-year-old Maria Grayson Fox.
TSA agents stopped a man getting through security with a loaded gun today at Norfolk International Airport. Take a look. They got this .40 caliber handgun from a man's carry-on bag. We're told it had 13 bullets, including one in the chamber, when it was confiscated. The man was detained by airport police. He hasn't been identified. TSA agents want this to serve as a reminder that you can't carry a weapon in your carry-on bag, even if you have a carry permit. You could be fined up to $13,000.
New at 5, we have new information about the mental health of a Navy veteran accused of abducting Ashanti Billy from a local military base. We've learned Eric Brown is currently being treated at a federal medical facility in North Carolina. 13 News Now investigative reporter Laura Geller joins us with recent court filings which reveal new details.
Well, the new filings talk about if and how there can be a prison hearing to involuntarily medicate Eric Brown. A court hearing on that issue is set for Thursday. Those records give us new insight into Brown's mental state and his situation at the Federal Medical Center.
Last we told you, federal authorities found out whether or not a forensic psychologist believes the Navy veteran accused of abducting and murdering Ashanti Billy is mentally competent to stand trial. But that report was not made public. This motion, filed by Eric Brown's defense attorneys, quotes a sealed order on that topic. It says FMC Butner has been tasked with restoring Mr. Brown to competency, or at least placing him in treatment for his schizophrenia. The motion shows Brown is in a lockdown unit. He is kept in the same cell 24 hours per day. Lawyers write they've been told Brown never uses the 1 hour of recreational time he is allowed. The filing also includes this email chain between attorneys and the facility's chief psychiatrist. On May 16th, the doctor wrote Brown remains in a psychotic state. In this exhibit, one of the lawyers states he was told at the end of last month Brown is a danger to himself or others. The defense attorney recalls the conversation with a nurse at Butner, in which she said Brown had been put in chains to be brought out of his cell. When he was returned to it, Brown allegedly swung the chain restraint at the guard. According to the declaration, the nurse said later Brown did not look at her or do anything to indicate he understood what she was saying.
At this point, on the federal level, Brown is only facing one abduction charge. Charlotte police charged him with murder, but that case has not moved forward just yet. Laura Geller, 13 News Now.
A crime alert tonight in Newport News. That's where a young girl is recovering after she was shot during a cookout. Police say bullets started flying outside a house on Arlington Avenue Saturday night, and the girl was inside when she got hit. 13 News Now reporter Nico Clemens spoke to a family friend about the scary scene.
It makes no sense.
A community searching for answers.
We should ourselves put down our differences and stand up for these children.
Police still searching for a shooter.
We cannot help what happened yesterday, but we cannot use that as an excuse not to help these children in the future.
Several people got together for a cookout Saturday night here at this home on Arlington Avenue. Police say someone started shooting. Bullets going everywhere. Witnesses tell police they heard at least 10 gunshots. At least one of the bullets went inside the home, hitting a 6-year-old girl in the leg.
Don't let this bad situation determine our future.
Angela Harris says she knows the family well.
I say God is good. I say be blessed. I say thank God that she's still here with us. And I say stay encouraged.
Harris, born and raised in this Newport News community, believes the violence is getting out of hand.
A lot of the stuff that happened in our community is being committed by people that's not from here and don't care about our elders nor our children.
I spoke with the girl's mother, who didn't want to go on camera, but says her daughter is doing fine. Harris is thankful because she knows this could have ended much worse.
I want to say to the family, it's not your fault. We can't help where we live.
And tonight on 13 News Now at 6, I ask police if they think this shooting was targeted or random. In Newport News, I'm Nico Clemens, 13 News Now.
A consumer alert tonight for drivers. Gas prices are falling in Hampton Roads. That's according to the tracking website Gas Buddy. The average price for a gallon of gas in Virginia Beach is $2.77. That's down 3 cents from this time last week. Nationally, the average has also gone down slightly, about 2 cents to $2.94.
Happening tonight, a major honor for former U.S. Senator and Secretary of the Navy John Warner. The veteran will be given the Gerald R. Ford Medal for Distinguished Public Service. Warner spent 3 decades representing Virginia in the U.S. Senate, the second longest amount of time out of any senator from the Commonwealth. He also spent nearly 10 years in the Navy and Marine Corps, serving in World War II and Korea. Warner will be honored during a ceremony in about an hour in Washington, D.C.